Well, it's 6:31, so I will open the meeting of the Charlton Water and Sewer Commission. It is Wednesday, September 10th, 2025. And is there anyone here for public forum? Hearing no one, I will ask Robert Coleman to read us what he's got.
The clerk makes a motion to accept the minutes dated August 6th as written.
Any discussion about that?
Well, Eric Groton seconds.
Okay, we've got a minute and a second. If there's no further discussion, Cheryl, we'll ask you for a vote.
All right, Mr. Gagner,
Aye.
Mr. Groton,
Aye.
Mr. Bernard,
Aye.
Mr. Robert Coleman,
Aye.
and Mr. Thomas Coleman.
Aye.
You have more for us, Robert.
The clerk makes a motion to accept warrants totaling $98,887.25.
Do I have a second?
Eric Groton seconds.
And do we have any discussion on any one of the, whatever it is, 15 or 20 components of that total? Hearing none, we'll ask for a roll call vote, Cheryl.
Mr. Gagner,
Aye.
Mr. Groton,
Aye.
Mr. Bernard,
Aye.
Mr. Robert Coleman,
Aye.
Mr. Thomas Coleman.
Aye.
Okay, that being said, we'll move on to our 6:30 appointment, which is a couple minutes late. From Veolia monthly operating report, I assume Dennis will be giving that now.
Yes, sir. Okay, so August was a busy month for us, thankfully not for house calls. Those finally tapered down. But at the end of August, we secured another operator that will be starting next week, so we'll be fully staffed. He brings some good experience. He comes from a brewery in Connecticut where he's a partial owner, but he's looking to change careers. So he basically works at a wastewater plant, being a brewery. So I think it will turn out well. As far as our health and safety, we'll be participating in the company's safety week next week. So if any of you stop by, we'll have a few activities going on, mainly for our employees to reassess and focus on safety. We don't want anybody getting hurt. That's just not good for anyone. As far as that goes, we did some improvements to the plant. We started putting in some perimeter floor tape to help guide any visitors at the plant. There's also signage to keep people from straying off the path in the event that somebody is visiting and it, does make their way in without escort. There is signage that I think will help us as a whole, as a company, as a town, to avoid some liability too. If you can't read and you go past the signage and the tape, then that opens up a whole nother can of worms. So with that, we also installed some new signs around the gates. I had to help identify vendors, visitors. There was a little bit of confusion that I noticed from some people coming that they couldn't really find the address. So we added a Veolia sign at the gate that has the address posted. It just helps everyone. And just from past experience, when I started driving in, we also put another sign that says continue down to the end of the road where you get to the treatment plant, because it looks like you might be in the wrong place. So that just helps visitors and any vendors or anybody else that comes. Also, anybody that's visiting Cheryl, we also are replacing all the signs at the pump stations with some new, nice, crisp signs. The old ones started getting kind of faded and funky. Um, I did install some 24-hour surveillance signs just to go with to cover the town and us for visitors that to make them aware. I believe that's part of the Mass General Law to have it posted if you have recording devices in a facility. And if not, you know, just one more thing to help us out. There's one at the gate that you'll see, and I believe there's two on the building itself. Just to remind people that the property is under surveillance, and maybe somebody will change their mind if they come after hours and decide they want to do something not so nice. As far as maintenance wise, we replaced one of the caustic pipes, or not, sorry, not the Comag under the Comag tank. There was a valve that was leaking. We replaced that. We did replace the caustic piping coming from the caustic pumps. We revalved everything, and we're going to be running a second pipe or tube. So we have some redundancy in the event that one of them clogs. We'll have a second one that we can just swap over quickly. And we're also going to keep, there's also a 1-inch line that we're going to keep in place as a backup to the backup in case we have to use a slurry if you run out of caustic for whatever reason. We changed out, we put new temperature gauges on the EQ blowers. Those were starting to get a little ratty, couldn't really read them. A couple of them were cracked, just for to keep a better eye on temperatures. One of them had a leak. We did replace that once, one of the seals inside. We got to check it again. It's starting to leak again, one of the EQ blowers. What else we got here? We had an electrician come in, replace some of the GFCIs around the poly tanks. For some reason, they just kind of went bad. One of them popped, didn't want to come back again. And the other one had previously also gone bad. So we just did them both at the same time. It's just small stuff. But in the long run, I mean, those are really important to have running. We got to also install some new signs on those because they're not the amperage on those. You can't plug anything else into them, no vacuums or lights or anything else. They're very low amperage. So basically, if you walk by them, they trip. So we got to put some signs up that basically say you can't use them for anything else. The stations are doing well. We're keeping up with the lawn maintenance. That's okay. Not too many complaints. We did have an issue at Glen Echo. We got an alarm at one point for a high well. I forgot the date, but it was last month. We had to call in LaFleur for that. We patched it up for the night, made it work, and then I believe that was, it might have been a Friday afternoon. And then on Monday or Tuesday, we came back and we had to install 2 new floats. We had to actually go in the well. A lot of that pipe wiring was old. It was kind of rotted. Some of the stuff arced out somehow, and so we ended up replacing 2 floats there. No trouble since. Last month we did 6 loads of sludge, 4 totes of caustic, which is pretty average, I think. So we're doing well on chemicals. I've talked to the town about installing a couple new parking spots on the far end of the plant to put the company vehicles to free up some parking up by the office for visitors. Anybody a lot of people come to see Cheryl. So they have somewhere to park. She's very popular. And I'm devising a plan, hopefully with the town, to start clearing the fence line. There's a lot of overgrowth, and at some point it's going to start damaging the fence, all the weight that's on it. So we're going to, as the fall comes and we start losing some leaves, it's going to be easier to get through that. We're working on killing the poison ivy and clean up the fence line, make it a little bit more presentable. I've also ordered a new welcome to the Charlton wastewater plant sign that I'm going to put in front of the flagpole with some nice PVC poles. I try to get the little tops with the LED lights, but didn't have them in stock, so we got regular tops for now. I just think that's going to be more presentable for anybody, visitors, whoever wants to come see the place. getting it ship shape. We did have I don't have it with me. I'm having problems getting into the hot WIM system, but I believe there was a couple, I think it was last month, a couple of coli violations. We've made some changes to our procedures as far as sampling, and we hope that that's not going to continue happening. I did meet with last month. I met with Trojan because I was worried about the lamps not working properly because the readouts aren't working. They came in, they gave me a quote to replace them all, which was I think 37 grand for new modules. Um, I don't think we're at that point yet, but the modules, some of them are acting funny, a couple lights are off, and we think that some of the sensors might be going. So I'm exploring for them to come in on an annual basis, what they call it, to have a maintenance tech come in. He'll change out the sensors, check if anything's wrong. That is much less. It's only like 2,500, I believe, for the year plus parts. That might be something I'm going to come up with, present to you guys soon, only because if we are, say, audited or visited again by a DEP and they notice that some of that readouts don't work, then they may come back on us a little more harshly. So if we cover our bases and spend the small money now to fix it, and then we can look to the CapEx eventually to replace that system because it is past its prime. I believe it's a 20 years life. I mean, I don't know if any of you remember it. I think they're 20 years and it's just about there, if not past that.
I'd say it's getting real close if it isn't already there.
Yeah. So you can see, I mean, the modules are what holds the lamps, and they're corroded. Some of the indicator lights don't work, and they're at the end of their life. I'm gonna try to make them work as long as possible and go from there. I believe that is pretty much all I have. We had 2 house calls. One had a broken wire in the box. Wasn't too big of a deal. And another one that we had to change out a programmer that just faulted out and wasn't working anymore. That one was on a Saturday morning, I believe. We had to call an electrician for that one. But other than that, I believe that is the important stuff from me.
Okay, before we move on, anybody got any questions for Dennis? I guess we're all set then. If that's the case, we can move on to our 6:35 appointment with Topa Land Survey. Is everybody there for that, Michael and whoever else is showing up?
Yes, Mika Laszlo from Topper Land Survey.
Yeah.
This is a continuation of a month ago when we came before this board, talking about the sewer moratorium and permission to connect sewer, or the feasibility of tying into the system. Subsequent to that meeting, we met with McClure Engineering and Vincent Masterson. And in our discussion, it came up that we probably should reach out to Wright Pierce, and like we had gotten permission from this commission to reach out to Beta Engineering, it was suggested to come to the commission and ask for permission to reach out to Wright Pierce to look at the capacity of the sewer in City Depot Road.
So Wright Pierce had done a study a few years ago, and they collected all of our sampling data up until 2022. And they have a pretty good understanding of the loading that the plant is facing. So they could say whether or not this project is feasible as far as loading goes.
Is this
And
the project that had 168 units,
Correct.
some 2 and 3 bedroom apartments? And
Correct.
how many individuals do you think these units will house? Realistically, not what they're designed for, but you know, if it's going to be overcrowding or not within them. I mean, there's no way to tell now, but I want your estimate, that's all.
Well, again, that's hard to say. A typical household, a dwelling unit, what do you have for dwelling units? So there's gonna be 168 dwelling units. So I mean, are you single, married, do you have kids? It's a hard assumption to it's kind of the nail down, but.
Yeah.
But the typical occupancy and 2 people per bedroom. So that's kind of where our flows come from that we were requesting. Basically the DEP's standard gallons per day per dwelling unit per bedroom.
Reason I'm asking is this is just personal, but my wife had 11 kids in her family. There's 13 people in all living there in a grass hut in Fiji that was not bigger than the office at the Charlton Sewer Plant right now. And so that's why I was wondering if the people that you're going to be are apt to stuff a lot of people into small areas. And I know it's difficult for you to predict that, but that's why I was asking for your personal opinion on it.
Are they rentals or are they like sold condos?
That hasn't been decided, because this would be a 40B. There's 2 different processes from a financial perspective. The calculations that the state wants us from a profit margin expenses and such. It's different when it's condos versus rentals. So those are decisions that the applicant has to kind of decide upon. But at this point, those discussions are kind of moot, and if the capacity isn't there and we can't tie in, so that's like a little bit further down the road, once site eligibility is granted from the state.
Well, I think if we have the capacity or don't, and how long it would take us to obtain the capacity, I think both Vinnie and Chris McClure are the people who should be answering that. And I know you've spoken to them already, but I don't know if they've addressed some of these details that the rest of the board might be interested in. Chris or Vinnie, got any comments on this situation?
The flow is not a problem. The plant could accept the flow easily. And we spoke with them about doing plug flow where they'd make it flow all at night when the plant needs the flow. The concern currently is loading. And the plant's really close to its peak loading of design.
And if I could, I think, given the fact that Wright Pierce had done that study and we've had discussions within the commission about the concerns about the flow versus the loading, it's probably something that the commission is going to want to take up as part of this, that in the overall allocation request. So I think it's a good idea to reach out to those folks who have that study, just to get it updated so the commission knows where you stand relative to that.
Any commissioners got something to add or ask?
Well, so I'm sorry, I missed. So was there so Chris McClure, are you saying we have capacity or we do not have capacity? I missed that.
Vinny, do you want to address that? So
the plant has plenty of flow capacity available. So gallons per day wise, it wouldn't impact the plant at all, really. Current flow rate, I'm looking at August's report. The average daily flow was 220,000 gallons, and they're permitted to accept 450,000 gallons. So they're at 50% flow capacity. However, the influent BOD, the plant's designed to take 1,000 pounds of BOD a day. And in August, it took 800 pounds a day. It's close. It's not over the top, but it's close. Again, we spoke with Toper Engineer and we talked about if they'd be open to doing any preliminary treatment before it leaves their property, such as a tank to catch any debris so we wouldn't have to deal with that. This property's on top of a hill. They could do a trickling filter or a cascade system or something like that to aerate it, which would really help knock down the BOD and the ammonia. And they're open to tossing around different ideas, but they also need to know if they can connect before they get any further into that.
Vinny, did you reach out to Wright Pierce or McClure for quotes on looking at our?
We
Our
did.
plant
I do
performance?
have a quote. It's not in front of me. I can email it to you after the meeting.
Yeah, my own feeling about the request to tie this property in is that there's two obstacles we have to get over. One is the moratorium that's in place. I feel like that does not give us the leeway to approve something like that until we lift the moratorium and allow, you know, everybody a fair shot at the capacity that we have. And I think that's something that we have to research to find out the actual wording of the moratorium that was passed a few years ago. And then I think the second one is the unit processes at the plant being, you know, they're all running. So, you know, we could take the flow in theory, but we can't actually treat it. And I think that requires the commission to get a Wright Pierce or a McClure or somebody involved and start going down the road of upgrading the plant.
I agree.
If, you know, if you're looking for permission from the commission to, you know, go to Wright Pierce and ask them to use some of the data that they collected on our behalf, on your behalf, I'm not opposed to that. I just think that you should be warned that even if you get an answer that you like there's two more things that we have to do here before you'd be approved, in my mind.
I would agree with that myself. Anybody object to that? I think that's a, you know, good thoughts and that's, you're laying it on the line as to what has to be done. And I too have no objection to getting Wright Pierce to give their opinion on the subject, what they have to do to come up with some positive results, but it's still coming back to us and the plant capacity. And I do believe, I don't know if Chris McClure has any information for us tonight. We had given him permission at the last meeting or the meeting, I think the last meeting, to do some sort of a study on that. And also in terms of if we can expand the plant, what would it cost and how long would it take? And what's our ability to expand it? How much, considering we still not going to increase the size of the river we discharge into. So some of these options, I think we need to have answers for before we can make any decisions too.
And if I could just, you know, to keep, you know, to streamline the effort or make it as cost effective as possible, is that because Wright Pierce had started that study and completed a study back in 2022, and Vinny has, you know, a proposal in front of them to update that. I think it's going to be the most effective rather than getting a, you know, determining, depending on what that, you know, estimate is, but the fact that they have done that previously, and it may be just an update with, you know, these few years, updating it to today's, you know, today's flows and current flows, and that's probably going to be the most cost effective and efficient path to travel on that.
Okay, are we all in on this subject now? Anybody got anything else to comment? or ask?
Is there a motion?
There is,
Well,
Nobody
we
made
need
one.
a motion to consult with Wright Pierce. They're gonna do that on their own. I think they're just looking for verbal approval from us. But if anybody thinks a motion is needed, be my guest.
Didn't we give permission last month to move ahead with that?
it was for a different consultant engineer. I think it was for
Okay.
Beta.
Beta.
And that was for the water component, if I could just add that, because Beta has the water model. So there's two aspects that Mika is looking for here. Is one is the water, obviously, and to ensure that site would be able to be serviced by the existing water system. Now this is the sewer side of things that we wanted
thank
to
you.
ensure.
So Mike, is that something that you want the commission to formally give you permission
Correct,
to?
because it's your information, it's the town's information, so just like with the beta, just
Yeah.
properly ask the permission before we go and reach out to them, and we get slapped on the wrist for not coming to you first.
Well, I'll move that we give Topper Land Surveying permission to talk to Wright Pierce to look at the capacity information that they need to provide the data that they're looking for.
I second
Second.
that.
Plenty of seconds.
Yeah,
All right, who's second?
We're all done with discussing this?
Tom Coleman.
Oh,
Tom Coleman.
okay, okay, thank you. Okay, I'm all set now.
Thank you.
You ready?
We're ready.
Okay, Mr. Gagner,
Aye.
Mr. Groton,
Aye.
Mr. Bernard, Mr. Coleman,
Aye.
Mr. Robert Coleman,
Aye.
all set.
Well, thank you for coming in.
All
and
right,
good
thank you
luck,
for your
and,
time, and I'm
uh,
sure we'll
I'm not-
be seeing you again.
Another meeting, we'll have some more for you, more information. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Moving on. Next business, we have chapter 61A, notice of intent to convert to residential use property at North Sullivan Road. There is no sewer or water there, so it really doesn't concern us too much, except they've got to go through all the town boards. And as far as we're concerned, I think this issue can move on to the selectmen and nothing to do with us. Is that correct, Cheryl?
Yes, you just gotta make a motion and vote on it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that you recommend that the Board of Selectmen know we do not see the need to initiate the first right of refusal of said property.
So no water, no sewer on that property.
There is not.
Okay.
And not a site for potential future well.
Oh.
That I'm not sure. I gave you guys everything that I received.
Yeah, I had asked about that too, Cheryl, because it's right next to a pond there from Orlando's. And I think these ponds are naturally filled. So there is a possibility we might want to, but we need, so many acres around any well testing and stuff. I don't know if we want to get involved with that or not. They did quite a bit of work on finding new sources of water in the past few years, but this was all mostly down the other end because the water piping that's there now stops at ADT Garage and goes up Old Worcester Road. So to get the people like nothing, Quattaqueg Pub and some of these others down there, where we're not going to get water from Oxford anymore, but it had originally been planned that many years ago. So our concentration was to getting on the, what do you call it, the east side of town or the north side of town. And so there is a possibility that we might want to investigate that, and the board should make that decision tonight.
I mean, I could reach out to Bristol Engineering, who did that research in the last couple of years, and see if this was one of the sites that he's looked at for being a possibility before we say we don't want to look at it.
If you would, I think we'd all appreciate it before we vote on tonight to pass it on or not.
All right, so hold this off till our next meeting.
Yeah, till hopefully by next meeting, we'll have some answers.
Okay. Okay.
All right, next we have Chris McClure on Old Business Route 20 Richardson's Corner situation. And go ahead, Chris.
Okay, so I think I reported the last meeting that that vault was installed and it's covered, and that final paving is underway. So that is up to grade. We did and we had to install a blind cover on that vault because we were waiting for the hatch to come in. That hatch has come in, but now we're just waiting for a welder an installer to put that new hatch on. But the project is just about complete. The hatch is and it's at the DPW yard now. So we're in good shape there. We will have access to that vault, that subgrade vault, in the future if needed. So that project is pretty much completed. So Thanks for helping me through that. And I guess if I could, along those lines, there was another application that I had forwarded to Cheryl. It was fairly recently about a potential development on the corner of Old Worcester Road and Route 20. A request had gone through the Southbridge Water Department for as a connection request. Steve Gregoire from the Southbridge Water Department had forwarded that along. They ideally, due to the fact that the Route 20 water line, and that's across from ADP as well, Paul, that that Route 20 line is not active, so they wouldn't be able to tap off of that at this juncture. But they do have frontage along Old Worcester Road where there is a water line. So apparently the request, they do not need, at this time, they wouldn't need fire protection. It would just be for domestic water, ideally a 2-inch line tapping off of Old Worcester Road. And it would be for, it's like a convenience store, like a Circle C. So there was proposed gasoline and diesel fueling station and a convenience store. So I'm just letting the commission know that is likely to be forthcoming. One of Steve's, the Southbridge Water Department's request was, well, is it something that we should be, the town should be, ideally the town would like to activate that 12-inch line all the way down to that area. I don't think this particular project in and of itself would be enough to move water because that 12-inch line holds so much. But if they were to request off of Old Worcester Road, does the water capacity, if they have the water capacity, that's what they're looking for. And ideally, again, it's just going to be like a commercial connection. The flows shouldn't be that great, but you'll see the request coming forward to the commission. That's like a dual application. It comes through Southbridge Water and also the Charlton Water and Sewer Commission. So just wanted you all to be cognizant of that. That's what Burlingame's, we call it a Burlingame's process area is, if everybody's familiar. It's on the east side of Route 20, right before Old Worcester Road there. They've been processing material there for decades.
Will anything be different when the blue tank is online for this situation?
It still doesn't resolve the users, the turnover for Route 20, that 12-inch line being so large. And there is some that had been in the past when we tried to pressure test that line. There was some issues with that pressure testing. So ideally, this goes along in the master planning discussion that we need to continue is, when and how do we test that line? So if there is a user that would allow this, the turnover there, we want to start thinking about evaluating and determining what needs to be done to get that 12-inch line activated and potentially in use. So that's going to be coming down the pike.
Okay. Anybody got questions for Chris before we move on? Otherwise, Vinny is due to give us a monthly update.
All right, so I worked on finalizing the sewer surcharges, and then we asked Chris to double check them. We submitted all those to the town. Cheryl sent them over to the finance. RSI Construction has been on site for 2 different occasions in the last month. One of them, you guys had approved that they replace the isolation valves for the sludge holding tanks. That job took a little longer than we thought. He quoted us for a minimum of 1 day, and there was a breakdown of if it went over 1 day, and it ended up taking almost a full week just because of where it was and the ease of digging. This was right up against the driveway in between the tanks. There's all kinds of electrical. it's a really tough area to work in. So he got it done. We ended up putting in 3 new shutoff valves along with new Buffalo boxes and hardware. And it came out great. The other project was the operator came in and there was a ton of water leaking out of the lawn. And one of the lower hydrants, the hardware had rotted away and the hydrant started leaking. RSI came in, they excavated the site, they found the problem. And I was also here and I spoke with the operator and mentioned that the current plant water supply doesn't have the flow to maintain a hydrant's flow. So together we made the decision to just put in what's referred to as a yard hydrant. You normally see them on farms. They just got a lever that opens up to let the water through. And we just had one of those installed because there really is not enough supply for a hydrant down there. So that was the construction updates on the site. The quote to have the research done on the loading availability of the plant that we asked for. The way I worded the question was, we wanted to know what would be available if McDonald's closed was the last conversation. And Wright Pierce came back and said, to do that work, it would be $11,000 to update all the data and tell us what's available and what would be available if McDonald's closed. I did just email all of you guys a copy of that conversation, so you have the quote. And I guess can we ask for a vote on that tonight, or does that have to push to the next meeting?
I don't believe it was on the agenda.
Okay,
So
that's
I
fine.
just got the information yesterday.
Yes,
I don't know why we should consider too much about McDonald's closing, because as long as they're gonna put another service area there, somebody's gonna be in there. If it's not McDonald's, it might be, Burger King or who knows who.
correct.
So I don't think that the loads of that are gonna change any. Just because McDonald's might be closed temporarily, even if they put up another building a little bit further away from the highway that they're supposed to do, it's still a temporary measure. So I don't think we should do too much consideration of
I
any.
think the board should really be stringent on what they allow them to do when they rebuild. You are correct. They are gonna rebuild something. It's a great piece of property. But with that being said, we also know what they give us, and we shouldn't allow them just to dump, 50 milligrams per liter of ammonia nonstop all day long. They should have to do some preliminary treatment before it leaves their site. Whether they're moving rags and they have an RBC spinning to reduce the ammonia, I don't know what we're gonna ask of, but
Will
there
a
should be
new
something
tenant,
thought of.
sorry, will a new tenant have to reapply to the Water Sewer Commission? In other words, is there justification for us to change the rules based on a new tenant?
I don't think if it's just a new tenant we can, but if they demoed a building, we can.
Gotcha. Yeah, that demoing the building makes 100% sense. I just wasn't sure how much authority we had if they just change it. Let's say it's a renovation because it's a Wendy's or a Burger King, like you're saying. Would that go through building permits? And I'm getting really complicated here. Could the building permits allow the Water and Sewer Commission to look at the capacity of that building, or the flow of that building, or architecture, infrastructure, whatever?
Well, I don't know all the details of every bit of that, but I do know that the Board of Health will have to be involved in approving anything they do.
Mm-hmm.
And the Board of Health has been on site for several of their grease trap overflows.
So is that something we could communicate to the Board of Health, that if there is it's like put it on the calendar kind of thing, but so this might be asking for a lot, but when they close, and I know they're going to renovate to put a new building or a new restaurant in. So when they do, could the Board of Health put anything dependent on the Water and Sewer Commission? And again, that might be a stretch.
I don't think we're asking too much. These sites are like a serious industrial site, and industrial sites have what's referred to as an IPP. It's an industrial pre-treatment program, and we set what we're going to allow them to send us. we could say, like we do at Treehouse, you can only send us 10,000 gallons a day. Everything else got to be trucked off site. Or we can say you need to pre-treat it to these standards before we'll accept it. So we do have
yeah.
some teeth on what we can demand of them.
So
Good.
just to add to that, the 40 CFR, which is the Code of Federal Regulations for the IPP, as Vinny just mentioned, allows any change to a industry or commercial business is allowed to be reviewed by the publicly owned treatment plant works. That's in the IPP program, which is a federal program as well. So whether it's Burger King, McDonald's, or a Wendy's, you have the ability, as soon as the flows and or loadings have changed from the original agreement, you have the option to cite any type of stipulation based on the needs and means of the publicly owned treatment works.
That sounds good. Do we need to do, we don't need to do a motion or anything. We just need to remember this, obviously, when new tenant comes in, right?
Yes.
Will they automatically come to us for clearance, or do they just go to the health department? Do we need to notify the health department that we want to,
They'll have to come to us for permitting, and the construction company already reached out to us looking for any infrastructure plans that we had.
okay,
So they should be in contact before they push their plans through. But I think a better point would be is to get in touch with the building department and have them hold up any permits dependent on our review.
Okay, so is this as simple as, I'll make a motion to communicate to the building permit department to ask the Water Sewer Commission for review prior to any permit
Yes.
generation? Okay, there, that's a motion.
Do I hear a second? Any more discussion on this?
Paul, did you second it?
No, I didn't say, I
I
didn't hear who
seconded it.
did.
Okay, Rob, thank you. Okay,
Any more discussion? If not, I guess Sharon, you can do your thing.
Mr. Gagner?
Actually,
Oops, go ahead.
no, sorry, I didn't realize you were going to vote. Never mind, sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. Mr. Groton,
Aye.
Mr. Gagner,
Aye,
Mr. Bernard,
Aye,
Mr. Robert Coleman,
Aye.
Mr. Thomas Coleman.
I,
okay, if we're all in, the next sub agenda was discussion of staffing plan. Is that for Vinny again?
Nope.
Yes.
actually,
okay.
Vinny, before we go there on project updates, last meeting, we had a question on the water line for the schools. Did we get any more detail on why the donuts are on the fire hydrants?
I do not have any more information on that. Chris, do you?
Yes, yes. So the donuts are on the fire hydrants as part of that school loop design and restriction on fire protection. The water line was designed specific to providing domestic water, and part of that agreement was that it's not to be used for fire protection, flushing purposes only, basically. So if there was an emergency there, it's not likely going to stop the fire department from making a connection. But there is limitations to the hydraulic capacity of that line. So Southbridge, it took it upon themselves to put those donuts. They're all active hydrants. If they're bagged and they're outside of the areas that service areas, then of course those are not active. But they took it upon themselves to put these donuts on there, say for flushing purposes only. So it's not, it's not that the fire department and everybody is aware. And they had discussions, and it's probably a good idea if there's any turnover on the fire department to understand, hey, if there is an issue there, obviously protect health and well-being, and you do use it, there is going to be some ramifications, either with the Bay Path High School or the higher level pump stations, Bay Path High School pump station, which we know had some issues with supply if there was flushing going on, or if there was a fire, which has happened over off of Mugget Hill Road. When that house burned, the fire department did connect to the hydrant. That hydrant, they did pull water off of it, and it did kick those pump stations out on low pressure, low suction pressure. So ideally, getting back to the discussion of what Paul said about the tank is, we get that, we can get that tank online. That might, that could potentially alleviate that capacity issue during fire flows. But really, that system was designed for domestic purposes to satisfy that. So they are active. They are active. It's just they just don't want them doing testing on them, right? Without Southbridge Water or the other customers that might have an issue being aware of that.
No, that's a good heads up. For some reason, my recollection was a year or two ago, whatever, that there was actually that they weren't the water line wasn't performing up to design, and we were going back to Exxon for changes. But it sounds like you're saying that the line is actually working as designed based on the specs from Exxon and et cetera.
Yes, and this for
Okay.
flushing purposes only. So, and even for Southbridge, when they go, they have different crews going out flushing these lines. They want to be aware. Hey, just don't open these up to 1,500, 2,000 gallons per minute. Just flush them accordingly, so we don't have those loss of those lower suction pressures in those two susceptible areas. Really, the highest points. Masonic Home and Bay Path.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, I thought it was an active project type of thing, but it sounded like, to your point, it's working as designed. It might be part of a 5-year plan to open up the tank and get it a higher pressure. But if I understand you.
Yeah, and exactly. And along those lines, I think it would be good, because we're still talking about activating that tank, and that tank, Southbridge, the DEP. With their sanitary survey wants to know about it, and also we need to talk about the disinfection augmentation. So if we could, maybe if the commission could, I know it's tough to get together as a whole group, but eventually we'd like to assign a couple of the commission members so we could start having these working discussions, so I could bring you up to speed with these improvements that we need to start planning on for master planning, so that everybody's, so that we could report back and say, these are the things we need to do. So it would be nice to, eventually identify some folks that I could get into a working group and bring them up to speed on these, on that water system as a whole.
Cool.
And actually, talking about a working group and you guys getting up to speed with everything, there was a upgrade we were kind of in progress of before I left Veolia, and I had it set up to just kind of carry on, but it needs to be refreshed. It's to upgrade the headworks, and Wright Pierce is the one that was doing the engineering. The funding was already approved to engineer it, as well as to purchase the major equipment, which is a $500,000 screening assembly. It's redundant. There's 2 of them. So Wright Pierce is coming to the site next week. If anybody wants to go, I can send you an invite for the time that they'll be here. Anybody have any interest in coming out here and hearing what they got to say?
I would like to come out, Vinny, Tom Coleman.
So we can't do more than 2 unless it's public noticed, because that would be a quorum. So Mr. Tom Coleman and Mr. Eric Groton, you'd both like to go?
Is it possible to put out a public notice and just have more than 2?
Yes, Cheryl
Yep.
can take care of that.
Yep.
You'd like the invite also? Mr. Robert Coleman?
Wednesday, which day are we again?
I believe it's Wednesday.
Okay,
Yes, it is Wednesday.
And Mr. Groton also?
Wednesday, the 17th?
Correct.
Okay,
Do you have a time, Vinny?
Just a second.
Yeah, I'll need a time too, Vin.
okay.
Actually, can I just send that out to you guys a little later? It's not
Yep,
right
no
on my
worries.
desktop where I thought I had it.
No worries.
Yeah, before the meeting's over, I'll get it to you guys.
Okay, where are we now? We're moving on, or you still got more to say, Vinny?
Oh, I always got more to say, Paul.
Uh,
So, me and Mr. Groton were speaking this week, and we were tossing over all kinds of ideas, but one of them was some of the privilege fees and rates are really old, and we don't know that they've been addressed or they're adequate for the days we're living in. And I think the board should have an assessment done on if our privilege fee is adequate. I mean, it's 8,200, which is a decent amount of money, but I don't know if it's enough to cover the goods they're getting. So,
I don't understand that. I understand what you're saying, but from the point after paying 8,200, they're also going to be paying in quarterly into the department. So does that,
right, but if we were to lay a new piece of pipe down the road today, with the
oh, no, that
8,200,
that wouldn't be a privilege fee. That would be a betterment.
that would be a betterment. And it
Yes.
wouldn't be 8,200, it would probably be 25,000.
Probably would, but it's a different figure. And privilege fees and betterment fees aren't always the same. When you lay that pipe in the ground, that's new pipe coming in for new houses or whatever. And
Yeah.
some of this money we had talked about trying to get this up front before they, even get their permits and stuff. Whereas a privilege fee is usually from something that's already there. And
Correct.
so I think we can have two figures there without being in conflict with each other.
Oh, that's fine. I mean, it's just something I wanted to bring to the attention of everybody so it could be talked about. I mean, I don't have influence on this either way because I don't know it. I just know it's a topic we should review because the cost of everything goes up exponentially, and these figures may not have changed to keep up with the times. That's all I'm stating.
I would agree with that. And it's the $8,200 figure that it's subject to change,
Right.
so
I mean, that's a 20-year-old number.
it is.
And not that the board's like running out of money and they need it today, but I don't think the board wants to be in the position of being out of money and needing to, quadruple it.
No, but everything costs a lot more than it did 20 years ago. Equipment,
Right,
labor.
so if we incrementally
supplies.
go up and stay with the times, it won't see as crazy when it happens.
Okay.
That's the only reason why we were even discussing it is, maybe everybody needs to be aware that these are old numbers and they might need to be refreshed.
Vinny, would the assessors need to take part in that also?
I'm not sure where to start with it. I can definitely do some homework, but I just kind of wanted to get everybody's feelings on it before I put any more effort into it.
And if I could, I do have a little bit of experience with this. Typically, what would happen is you would get some quotes from individuals that do these rate studies and do these assessments. There are different companies out there that do it. You could look at the people who did it the last time and get some. And that's really where you want to base your any increases in your rates. So they come in and do a forensics evaluation of the rates that you're currently charging, the rates to operate, your assets and allocations and all of that stuff, and then they come up with recommendations based upon that. So I could certainly share those entities with you, Vinny, and then you could get some potentially have them give you some quotes in order to do that rate study that way. And then they work with the assessors. They work with all of the various departments to develop this a recommendation for either rate adjustments, either incrementally or, unilaterally or however commercially or residentially. So that's usually what communities do in order to get this type of thing in motion.
I have a question. Say we do, higher the rates, does that have to go in front of the special town meeting to be voted on?
I'm
Or
pretty sure the
not.
last increase was done by the commissioners. I was
Right.
working for Veolia when it was done. But
Okay,
it was just Peter put together a number from somewhere and they voted on it and approved it.
okay,
And that's also an option, but, you know, depending upon, again, what the board wishes, it's sometimes if you're going through and having somebody come in this, and they're accountants basically is what they are, that are, you know, that deal with water and sewer rates, throughout the state. So, that kind of gives you that, that study gives you the, you know, gives you that decision-making process, and this is why we did what we did. And, you know, this is where we are at the enterprise fund. This is where we need to be. This is what the improvements that you guys are looking to do. And so they wrap all that in and tell you where you should be in order to, you know, continually have a successful, enterprise, fund for the plant.
Thank you, Chris. That was great information.
Sure.
All right, so we need a motion for that to get that ball rolling.
Well, I think Chris can just send us the list and then we can decide what to
Okay.
do with it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll get you a few names. You go out to 3 or 4 of these, consultants and they'll provide you with a cost to do this rate study. And then you just make a decision as, you know, as a board as to what, you know, who you feel would be the best consultant to do that for the town.
Okay, thank you.
And Chris, if we have like capital improvements that we're thinking that we need both in water and sewer, should we have those kind of fleshed out before we talk to him so we know what we're also asking to get paid for in the future?
Yeah, they would. You get them on board because that's going to be included in their study, right? So you get them on board. You see who's going to give you the, you know, who you feel the most comfortable with the good rate, and then they're going to do that deep dive. They're going to say, okay, so this is what you have for assets. This is what you have for infrastructure. This is what you have for your building. This is where your enterprise looks like, and what do you have coming down the pike that we will build into that, so we can ensure that you could, you know, you could afford to do these types of things.
So if we end up talking to Wright Pierce in the next couple weeks about what they think we need on the wastewater plant side, can you help us put together a list on the water side of
Sure.
this blue tank project and
Yep.
and other things so that we have everything in the bucket when we go to this guy?
Yeah, we have a pretty good handle on those costs right now. I mean, the opinions of probable costs. So yeah, that definitely we can wrap that all up and incorporate that into that study.
So the working group that you were talking about, is there a bunch of projects like in the hopper just waiting for us to make decisions?
It's mainly the tank. It's mainly getting this tank online and
Yep.
you know, what needs to happen in order for that to happen. And it's really chemical augmentation, which will require a building to be constructed in order to get that plant online, and mixer and injectors for that. So yeah, it's that's really the biggest one, Eric, that I can see. And also looking at really that section of Route 20 with that 12-inch pipe, because there is potential for development down there. And if we can, you know, like to start with whether that needs to be TV inspected or pressure tested, and so we can get prices on that and incorporate all that. But I just want to make sure that you know, like I said, get you folks involved with it, so you know what we're up against, you know.
Yep.
Okay, are we ready to move on? Any more questions for Chris right now?
I'm sorry, I have one more. So what do we do to get this working group started? I've only got a 2-year term, so I want to make some progress before I bow out.
So like, so just in order to not have to put in a public meeting notification for that, if 2 people wanted to volunteer, we could just set up a time to either at my office here, because I have to plans and maps and the infrastructure or down at the plant, just to come in and start, discussing these projects that we have so that they can be, discussed, at these meetings with the full commission. So.
I would just like to clarify, I can't do the 17th. So if that gets us down to 2 people, maybe it would be simpler.
So we,
Well, we
First-
probably need to see how many people are interested in the working
Yeah.
group, right? Because to your point, if it is 2, it's not public forum. Are we thinking of a particular time, or is it let's get volunteers and then define the when and where?
I think that would be the best case scenario if I could just get a couple and I just want to lay these things out there. So I'm not bringing them in with no knowledge from the commission as to what they are. There would be, a few of us at these meetings, and then obviously we can discuss and see what direction that we want to go and need to go. Just kind of bring us all up to speed on these on the water side of things.
Yep.
Yep.
Interest?
I'm
interested.
willing to do it. If someone with more experience wants to do it, I will certainly step aside and let them take it. I'm very raw in this role.
I'm interested.
So that's 2.
I'm interested. It's just going to depend on date and time. So we could get down to 2 pretty easily, but why don't we pick a date and time, and then we can address the public forum based on that. Is that fair?
Fair enough.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
And Chris, you could just throw out some times and email them to
Yeah.
us, and then we'll decide.
Yeah, that'd be perfect.
Yep.
Okay, Paul, I'm done.
well, we're all ready to move on. Moving on would be discussion of the contract language, and I don't know who's discussing that. Would that be
Paul,
Eric?
Paul, you missed staffing plan.
I did. Oh, I'm sorry. After Vinnie came, Chris and I did miss that. Yeah. Well, let's discuss that. With whom?
Mike Williams, I believe. And I also think Chris worked on that.
Yes, Michael, you here?
I'm here. What did I work on? I apologize. I was
Um,
working on 2 things.
The staffing plan, we just wanted to discuss the findings or what we want to do next there, as far as Veolia's staffing at the plant and the needs going forth.
Yeah, I'm happy to discuss that. Has the board had an opportunity to review the staffing plan and understand the needs and expectations from the DEP?
That was in the meeting packet, correct?
Yes, it was.
If not, we can table it and come back to this and, just continue this conversation. I just want to make sure everybody has an opportunity to review that and the needs and the expectations that were outlined by the Mass DEP and not by Veolia. These are not set forth by us. It was one of the items of the NON that was just recently responded to and submitted to the DEP and EPA on behalf. Vinnie submitted that.
So Michael, based upon that staffing plan and what is how you're currently staffed down at the plant, what is Veolia's position there? Additional needs, additional requirements, just so, and we can come back with recommendations based upon that to kind of make it a little bit easier for the commission, but and even from Vinnie's perspective, so what are the findings and what do you feel that will be coming down the pike relative to the staffing at the plant and how that will affect the current contract with Veolia, and does there need to be an amendment to that?
I think there's a lot of information there. So I'll start with, yes, according to the staffing plan that was submitted to DEP and the response that we received from the section chief, Dan Karpaska, He is expecting the staff to increase by 1 full-time staff member. The current staffing is 3, Dennis and 2 operators. We will be fully staffed, as Dennis started the meeting with, as of Monday. Vinny, of all individuals, can attest to the challenge of managing the facility with just 1 manager and 2 staff members. There's been a high turnover rate for this facility, and we are working on improving that with increasing pay and additional benefits through Veolia. So we are trying to make this more of an attractive position to retain talent. We've had individuals who've received licenses and have moved on, and we've had individuals who worked for 2 days and said, this isn't the job for me, it isn't what I thought it was going to be. So it's mixed reviews on opportunities of employment. For the board's consideration, we did discuss at the previous meeting an increased staff member, adding 1 additional full-time staff member to meet the requirements and obligations that the DEP has suggested, that is the needs of the facility. This, again, staffing and managing the staffing are a requirement of Veolia's contract, but due to the change in regulation through the DEP, the cost would be burden of the town of Charlton. So we would move those costs, we would just include those costs in our service fee for that 1 full-time employee that we provided. So again, that's up for discussion. I'm happy to hear some thoughts and feedback on that.
If I could just to interject one other time here, Michael. So does that require a change in the current contract, or does the contract allow for adjustments relative to for additional staffing?
I think that bleeds into the contract discussion, because unless I'm mistaken, there's probably disagreement between Charlton and Veolia on what the requirements are of the contract.
Yeah, I didn't know this was a setting we wanted to get into that. I thought that I was anticipating an off the record, not off the record, but a conversation prior to this. But if we're going to move into the disagreement or the discussion, I wouldn't say disagreement, but discussion, we're going to be respectful of everybody here. And this
it's a discussion. Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. In our position, this would align into the force majeure type of event under section 7.2 changes of law, including permit change, rules, regulations, or code requirements as amended orders of the public authority of court.
Why is this a force majeure?
So under section,
you've given us no written documentation that you want to increase costs. You've given us no draft amendment. It's simply a verbal discussion on a DEP employee. So why are you moving to force majeure? And you haven't gone through dispute resolution, which requires written communication. So I'm just curious.
We provided that cost to the board, what it would cost for that, and that
was verbal, correct?
I believe it was in the previous packet. But I'm not positive of that. And if it wasn't, I apologize that it wasn't, and we could start there and we can backtrack to that. I did work with Vinny, so I know Vinny has seen this, and Dennis, and internally we've seen that. So my apologies if that was not included in the packets of the previous meetings. So we can definitely reevaluate that and start with that. And I might have jumped, to conclusions on that. Additional services and maintenance services are, section 1.16 of the contract to include providing operation and maintenance in case such events, additional services are necessary. The operator will be paid, operator being Veolia, will be paid for such assistance in accordance with Article 3 of the agreement. So we can definitely evaluate Article 3, and I'm happy to talk through that with you guys. I preemptively moved forward with anticipating that with the previous board that this was coming down the pipe. So I think that there's just been a little bit of I'll call misunderstanding, because this conversation of adding an additional staff member did come forward with the previous board. And now we're at the point where I guess I should have started with a more open dialogue with you gentlemen.
No, that's cool. And again, I am the one that did a review of the contract, and and again, this was completely my read of it, highlighted it and provided it back to the board. To your point on 1.16, I read it the same as you. Additional operations and maintenance services not considered routine. I know this might shock everyone. I do not work every day in the water and sewer industry. So I read that and said, I don't know if this doesn't feel like it's additional operation or maintenance services, not considered routine. So that might be part of the discussion. The cost provisions in 3.1 pretty clearly state it's, in my mind, it's a fixed fee service. It doesn't say anything about headcount or anything else. And to the discussion we were talking about, which section is it? In 1.3, you clearly state it's a minimum of 3 employees, but there's no maximum and no wording that additional costs would be incurred from for an additional one. So again, I just did a read of the contract. I am a servant to the board, so whatever the board wants to do. But I think we asked for clarification on the contract, which is what I sent to the rest of the board.
And I'm happy to step back here and recommunicate, understand your position, of course, and share what our cost proposal anticipation was. And again, a little background on how we got here prior to the DEP requirement. Again, with the previous board. So I definitely can put together some communication for the board and try to clearly outline the obligations and the needs for this operator for the facility to improve the operation. Again, as Vinny, I go back to Vinny because he's the longest standing operator here. Understanding
Yeah, I think
when
I
one
think
individual leaves or is on vacation, and those are our responsibilities, of course, but the scope of services that the DEP has evaluated show the need for an additional staff member.
Oh, agreed. I think everyone is in agreement. It's 4, and everyone can let me know if that's incorrect. I think the question was, is the town responsible to take on the burden of that additional cost based on the existing contract? I will leave it to discussions for the rest of the board. Again, I gave my notes on my read of the contract. I'm only one person. And by the way, I'm not a lawyer.
And nor am I. I am a wastewater operator. So again, with the board, if the board would like to speak on this today, or if they would like me to put together a formal discussion email for consideration, I would be happy to put together that and or hear the thoughts tonight.
I would like the email with the discussion points, and I will take it upon myself to read the contract. I'm not a lawyer either, but
Can we resend the amendment? If you sent it, my apologies. I either didn't think it was an amendment to the contract or missed it completely.
It wasn't a formal amendment. What it was just a cost proposal of the individual. So before getting a contract amendment agreement signed or getting that forward, we typically move forward with, okay, this is the scope of work, and this is, if it's a scope of work change or if it's a staffing change, we propose that to a community, and you guys evaluate that and agree, and then we move forward into the actual legal amendment.
Okay. Yeah, and I love that you went to force majeure first, but there is a section in here around if the two of us disagree, if for some reason the town of Charlton says, no way, we're not paying, contract's clear, and Veolia's stance is, no way, I need more money. There's actually a clause in here that we pick someone to help mediate it and come to a resolution. So we don't need to cancel the contract, because honestly, I don't know who would run the plant. So
I have no desire to cancel the contract. And I'll be honest with you, some of the information, like some of the bullet points that I received from our legal team, like I was not prepared for this conversation. In all honesty, Dennis and myself and Vin, we talked about this and we said, you know what, if the board brings it up, we'll bring it up. But I think there's more discussion to be had prior to tonight's meeting. So I was totally caught off guard with this, and I'm like, oh, these are the first bullet points as I'm reading off to you, team. So I just.
Oh, yeah, no. It wasn't meant to be a, I don't know, an aggressive conversation. I think it's meant to be like, I honestly didn't see I was thinking it was amendment. So it's tough for me to weigh in on, well, okay, well, what is the change to the contract? So, and I think at the last meeting, I think I've volunteered to do a read and get out to everyone. So that's what I did to the board. But, yeah, no, I'm good keeping this a casual conversation. In the end, we'll get through this. I don't think this is going to be two adversaries against each other.
By no means.
With no resolution. So
I love to hear that. And I appreciate your openness to discuss.
I read the contract myself probably a couple months ago now, but I came up with the same opinion that Eric did on his thing, and I read that last time. I was happy we were in agreement with that. But in terms of making a solution, is there any way, number one, I believe Veolia's contract is up in 1 year. Can you wait until then and write it into the new clause? Or is there any way we can split it? Pay for half of a person and Veolia pay for the other half of the person? Is that a possibility even? Does it all have to be all one or nothing?
Paul, I'd love to, discuss the negotiations of the next term of the contract when we're looking at an extension of current contract. So when we start talking of that nature, there's definitely opportunities that are far beyond this one topic of employee. So I definitely would like to entertain what that future agreement looks like.
why don't we, I guess, Paul, to that point, I don't know if this is a motion, I'll say it first. Rather than get through, there's a dispute with the contract, why don't we move to negotiation for the renewal and see if we can come to agreement on terms there? And if it includes an early renewal, then that might be acceptable to all parties. And that was just a suggestion. I'm good with. No way, man. Stop making suggestions.
Is an early renewal possible? I mean, the terms of the first contract, that after so long, 5 years, we have another 5-year renewal section. Can we move it up, to an early removal or not? I don't know if that's possible. I think it might be, but I don't know for sure. If anybody has more opinions on that, would like to hear them.
If I may weigh in, we don't have, from our position, there's not a limitation on when you guys extend, it move to the additional 5-year. It's at the sole discretion of the owner, being the town of Charlton. So my position is, we can sign when you, it's subject to the appropriation of annual funds. So when you guys are ready to move forward and outline some changes that we might want to see. I think this is a new board and there's a lot of new information coming out. And I think this is, we're very forward thinking and discussing new rates and terms and the IPP program. So I really like where this is headed and what the next 5-year agreement can look like and adjust to reflect your needs.
Well, have you already hired the 4th member or the 4th staff person, or is that, when is that happening?
We have waited for your approval.
Do we have a figure for how much this extra person would cost us? I assume that the class 6, 5, 6, 7 operators are the first ones in there, so that should be included with the original thing. Now, if we're going to hire an extra person, he doesn't need quite the qualifications as the other 3. Do you have a figure that we could go by on that to have some idea what we're talking about when we say yes or no?
I'll be honest with you. I was not prepared for that conversation tonight. You really caught me off guard, Paul. I'm trying to pull it up right now. Vinny, I don't know if you have it, right now, but like I said, I could put some bullet points together and for discussion points of this, and then discuss some of the other things in the next 5 years as we move forward, what we could, collectively and collaborate on.
Well, and Michael, I'm going to go ahead and just make a formal motion. So based on 5.3, we can, between the two of us, we can agree to terminate the agreement for convenience. So based on that, I guess I'm making the motion. Let's go right into negotiation of new contract. And again, that's obviously, Michael, dependent on you with Veolia going, hey, would we be okay stopping the existing contract, entering into a net new 5 or whatever contract that gets us to 4 people, and then the other items we're looking for.
Okay, that a motion?
I think it's a motion. Yeah, it's a motion.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Cool.
Okay, I think that's a good idea. Anybody got something different to add to or subtract from this motion? If not, Cheryl, I think we can go ahead with a vote.
Mr. Groton,
Aye.
Mr. Bernard,
I
Mr. Robert Coleman,
Aye.
Mr. Thomas Coleman,
Aye.
and Mr. Gagner.
Aye. Okay, if we're done with that, is there any other business that was unknown at the time of posting? Usually we don't allow most of that, not at the time of posting. If not, we're pretty well good for tonight. Our next meeting is October 1st, and I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
motion to adjourn.
Second.
We're all set with that. Any discussion on it? Otherwise, go ahead, Cheryl.
Mr. Gagner,
Aye.
Mr. Groton,
Aye.
Mr. Bernard,
Aye.
Mr. Robert Coleman,
Aye.
Mr. Thomas Coleman.
Aye.
And before we leave, Cheryl, you said you will not be in till 9:30 or something like that
Yeah,
tomorrow morning?
9:30, 10 o'clock tomorrow.
In case any of you want to come in at that time, just to sign paperwork.
If you
Just,
can't make it tomorrow, I will be there from 7 to 1 on Friday.
okay,
All right,
Thank
so if us Colemans are in at just around 10, then we should be out maybe by 10:30, 10:40.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's fine.
All right, I'll come after lunch.
That's fine. Okay,
Very good. Everyone be safe.
all right.
you too.
Good night, all.
Have a good
Aye.
night.
Good night.
Right.